welcome to the Closing Beat, everybody. Closing Beat, why do I say that every day? Oh, man. This is the Doe Show. I'm just so excited to get to the end of the day. I don't know if you've seen what the markets have done today. I literally left I went to go get something to eat. I forgot my wallet. I came back, markets took off. So we'll cover it, of course, on the Closing Beat. Today we're going to talk to you about your dough. This is the Doe Show. We focus on things that are interesting topics, and I'm going to ask a question today. What if the day you got married, you never had to invest another penny in your life? This is actually brought to us by Paul Merriman, a fellow financial advisor, wrote an interesting article, and I'm going to share it with you guys today. The idea was, what if you spent some of your wedding money and then you invested the rest? Now, I don't have an opinion on this, and I'm not certainly trying to give you an opinion. I just want to share an interesting stat. So it's the kind of things that we do here on the Doe Show. We're financial advisors, so we bring you sort of interesting ideas during the Doe Show. Later on in the day at 5 o'clock, we do a live show about the stock market, an unbiased opinion about what happened in the stock market. I shouldn't say unbiased opinion, an unbiased review of the stock market. If you need help with your retirement investments, long-term investments, or just don't know what you're doing, you think you might need a financial advisor, I hope you'll check us out at Jazz Wealth. We think we're something special. We're SEC fiduciary registered investment financial advisors. I think that's all the words we're supposed to include there. Anyways, here's the deal. I had this conversation with my daughter last night trying to see, is this a good video for me to do? Would you, what do you think about this? And we went at it, man. We went back and forth on this one. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to reference the article. Of course, Paul Merriman is the original author of this article. He's a financial advisor out of California. And I'm going to put in some different, geeky stats and things like we do. Here's what we're going to say. You're getting married and you're 25 years old, right? And you'll probably retire at 65. So that's going to be our base use for today. Now, the argument was made that the average wedding costs about $40,000, meaning someone will spend about $40,000 on their wedding. I felt like that was a little low, but that's the stats there. So the argument was made, hey, do we need all $40,000 for the wedding? What the hell are you spending $40,000 on a wedding? And if I could tell you a quick story, I went to a wedding about 3 years ago where the couple was probably the coolest couple ever. They were just laid back, hipster type people, just happy to be together, and really what you want to see in a wedding. And so anyways, we're in Florida, a lot of beach weddings. They actually did a beach wedding, and they said, you know what, guys, we want you to bring your own chairs. We want to set up a circle. We want to do the wedding in the circle. We're not interested in the fancy chairs and all this stuff. Bring your own chair, bring a drink. We couldn't drink there on the beach, but bring your own drink quietly. And come hang out on the beach while we get married. So they paid the priest. We all brought our own chairs. They had like a little arch thing, maybe $50 to rent it or something. They did the wedding there. Now, the interesting part about this was the reception. To me, the coolest part was the reception and them getting creative with this. What they did, they went to a local restaurant bar that was kind of on the beach. Not a bad place, actually a really nice place. And what they did is they went in there and they said, hey, we'd like to have our reception here. We know you guys don't do receptions. You're a restaurant. But could we have this side of the restaurant? When you walk in, it was a completely separate room. And we're probably going to bring like 50 people. The restaurant was so happy about that. They said, I'll tell you what, if you promise you're bringing at least 50 people, we'll give you a $200 credit at the bar. So not only they didn't have to pay for the room, but they got a $200 credit. Then they did one of those things with a website where everybody puts in $20 towards an event or something. And so we all put in $20. At the end of the day, we had $1,500 that we all got to spend at the bar. And we, of course, the restaurant was happy because people bought food and they were there playing games and stuff. Probably the coolest wedding I went to, I guarantee you they didn't spend more than $1,000 on this entire wedding, the dress and everything. And probably the most fun I've ever had hanging out with people, to be honest with you, because it was just a great time, intimate, and to me, a great wedding. And they're still together today, so they did something right there. Anyways, here's the argument we're going to make. You got $40,000 to spend on a wedding. What happens if we say, let's spend only $1,000 of it on the wedding, and we'll invest the other $39,000. This was the part, by the way, where my daughter goes, what? Come on, man, I can't buy a dress for $1,000. Well, I could prove to her that you could get it done, but That's pretty extreme. So we're going to do a couple examples here. We're not going to just force you to spend only $1,000 on a wedding. We'll do a couple examples. But let's say you could do it, right? Your parents, you, everybody saved up. You had $40,000. $1,000 goes towards the wedding and $39,000 goes towards investments. The real question is, how would you go about doing it? If you did that, what would the best way to invest it be? So you've got the $1,000 going there. The first thing we want to do is get it into a Roth IRA. So if we assume that in 2019 you can put $6,000 away in the Roth IRA, you're going to do that. Now we're going to do this class in about almost 5 weeks because of the holiday for our customers. We're going to do a class on how do you invest large sums of money despite the Roth IRA or the IRA limits. Well, here's one way. You put the $6,000 in for the 2019 Roth IRA, right? Am I still with you? If I lost you, let me know. And then you're going to take the other $33,000 and you're going to invest that in an individual personal wealth account, right? Individual account, that's all it is, right? You're going to invest that right away. So the entire amount's going to get invested. This is where it gets really, really cool because it's the process of how you go through this. You now have $39,000 invested. What's going to happen? We're going to assume a 10% return. Yes, we are going to assume a 10% return. That is the average return of a target date fund 40 years out in history. Did you know that? Because I've done some videos where I've used 10% as a return and I get bashed on those. I get some comments where people are like, you're ridiculous, you don't know your numbers. I might not know numbers, but I know the facts. And the facts are a 10% return for a simple target date fund 40 years in the future, target date with the target date of 40 years in the future. The average return is 10%. So there's no opinion. Nobody's right if they say it's 5% or don't expect that, it's not going to happen. We're going by the average returns here. We always go by numbers. We don't go by guesses or opinions or feelings or gut feelings, things like that. Okay. So if you do a 10% return on that, what's going to happen is this $39,000 is eventually all going to be in the Roth. You are going to each year move more and more into the Roth until you have moved all the money from the taxable to the Roth IRA. You are going to pay the tax along the way. And this is going to be part of the class we do for our customers where we calculate this for them. It's really not that big of a deal. And how you break down the investments that go from the personal wealth account to the Roth IRA really makes the difference here, so we'll cover that for sure. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to end up with a Roth IRA, all after-tax money, with a total of $39,000 contributed to it. At 25 years old, happily married, everything's great. We're going to assume a 10% return on that because that is the number, that's the fact on that one, for an average target date fund. You got 40 years till you're going to use the money. Here's what happens. $1.77 million in retirement at 65 years old. That's pretty cool. Okay, here's the really cool part, and people miss this all the time. I did a video, $28 a week gets you $665,000 in retirement, which means you can live off of $80,000 a year. And there are so many comments on there where some people are nice. And if you're nice and you leave a nice comment, I will teach you when I respond. If you're a jerk, then I'm going to be a jerk. That's the way I was raised. Sorry. So a lot of people go, wait a minute, Dustin, I'm not sure I understand the math. And those people get a nice answer from me. The people that go, you're an idiot. $665,000 does not last 20 years if you take $80,000 a year out. You're correct. You're just not understanding the compound interest. So here's how this works. $1.77 million a year, not a year, $1.77 million is what you end up with by investing one time. That's it, $39,000 one time and slowly shifting it into the Roth. That's a whole video in itself, actually. If we assume in retirement you get a 7% return, that's kind of high, by the way. That would assume you take a little risk, probably in excess of what you should. But hell, you got $1.7 million, so maybe you'd be a little more risky. I'll take that one. If you think that maybe the growth in retirement should be lower, I could agree there. The average target date return, fund return right now is 5.5% for someone that's retired right now. I'm referencing Mr. Merriman's article here, which used 7%. So I'm gonna go with him on this one. But if I had a comment for him, I would say a little bit less probably. But again, I would do it nicely. Okay, so 7% average return when you retire. If you do a 4% withdrawal rate, because that's what everybody teaches out there, it's ridiculous, by the way, but that's what everybody teaches. So if we say 4% withdrawal rate, here's what happens. You would take a total out of your Roth IRA, now worth $1.77 million. You would take a total of $3.21 million out of your Roth IRA. Go ahead. Leave the comment. Where do you get 3.21 million out of 1.77 million? This is the part that people miss in that $28 a week video. The goal was just to show you something simple to do to invest. Here you've got 1.77 million. The day you retire at 65, you don't take it all out. You let it grow, right? You take out what you need, in this case 4%, pushing $80,000 a year, by the way. So you get the idea what they're doing. However, it's so much money, it's still growing. In that $28 a week video, by the way, we did 5.5% growth in retirement, not 7. But we're using 7 here. So if you take out 4% a year, you're pushing $80,000 that you get to take out. You're still growing. This pile of cash is growing and growing more than you can take out at the 4% withdrawal rate, which means you got to withdraw $3.21 million. As the account grew, you pulled money out in retirement. That's such a tricky concept for brand new investors to sort of wrap their heads around, because you think when you get to retirement, that's my money, I'm going to take my money. But in reality, it keeps growing, and as you get closer to retirement, you start to see that. So that's it right there. And so here's the thing. They're going to take 3.21 out of their Roth IRA. The account value is 3.95. That means you got to retirement with 1.77 million. You took out 4% a year. You took out a total of 3.21. By the time you're 95 years old, you still have $3.95 million in the Roth IRA, likely to be left off to somebody. So taking out all $3.2 million over that retirement period, from 65 to 95 is what they use here, you still are left with $3.95 million. That's like the biggest argument for compound interest I can make. And you only started with $39,000 at 25 years old. So if you have kids and they're getting to that age where they're starting to get married or something, then you might want to talk to them about this, because it's $39,000. That means they have more than enough to retire off of. Granted, these numbers will be bigger. They have more than enough to retire off of. They have more than enough money to take out, and they have more than enough money to leave to something that they believe in, or leave to their kids, or whatever they want to do. That's incredible, right? I mean, simple little calculation. Now, the total, $7.16 million that you would end up with, or for every dollar of this $39,000 that you invested, you would gain $183. All because you got creative with your wedding and maybe scaled back a little bit. Now, I had an argument with not an argument, we had a debate last night where she goes, there's no way, $1,000, you can't do it, Dad, you can't put, you just can't make that happen, I'm not feeling it, man. So she said, what about $5,000? And I said, well, that's interesting, because that was the sort of counter argument from Mr. Merriman, was to say, how about doing $5,000 instead? So what if you got $40,000, and in this case, you spent $5,000 on the wedding, and you invested $35,000. Are you going to lose out on all that growth? Is everything going to be crazy there, and all of a sudden it doesn't work? We're going to use the same rates of return, 10% pre-retirement and 7% post-retirement, right? Which I would agree is still a little bit high. So those are the rates of return, just like we did on the last one there. What's going to happen now? You have $1.58 million when you get to 65 years old. That's not bad. Your total withdrawal now is going to be $2.9 million for the lifetime. You take 4% out of each year of $1.58 million, still grow by 7%, right? Already wrote that down. That means you can do that and take a total of $2.9 million out throughout the lifetime of your retirement there. It means that you have a total of $6.42 million, right? Don't these numbers get you excited? I get excited when I look at numbers. Like, to me, just working through this, it makes me think like, oh my God, it's not like I might win the lottery, all I have to do is play. No, it's all I have to do is do that, and I will get to that, somewhere within a range of what we're talking about here. That's cool, because this is like the one thing you can say, I know I will get there. All I have to do is do it. I'm 25, maybe I don't have 35,000 right now, maybe I have 1,000. That's what I have. Start there. There's nothing that says this person stops investing forever. It's just a possibility. Could you imagine a 25-year-old, they get married, they're done with college, they go get the job they're looking for, they pay off some debts probably, and then they get a job that has a 401k with a match. Well, there's extra money. There's a whole lot of extra money there. Maybe they add more over time. Once they convert all of this over to the Roth, maybe they put 1,000 or 2 extra in the Roth here and there. Can you imagine what that adds to if that happens? I mean, it's just incredible to think that, yeah, Justin's got it. That's just one side of it. He says, forget about, what if you have a 401k? That's exactly. Imagine what happens there, what you can do for your kids. You don't need to necessarily set up, trusts and college accounts and stuff like that. You'll be set. Right? You don't need to rush to pay off your house if you don't want to in that case, because you'll have plenty of money to pay it off when you retire, which means you don't have to guess if you're going to be in the house that you're currently trying to pay off. Sometimes that kills me though. People want to pay off a house early when odds are you're not going to live in that house. So when people tell me, Dustin, should I pay off this, or pay off my house? Well, aside from the sort of basic criteria to determine that, I always go, are you going to stay in that house forever? I need to hear commitment from you to say, this is my dream house. I have never wanted any other house in my life. I have just the right amount of bedrooms. We are not having any more kids. It's not 6 bedrooms. It's not 5 bedrooms. It's 2 or 3 bedrooms, or it's a condo. We're done having kids. Things like that. You could just say, I don't have to guess. Maybe I want to have another kid. Maybe I want 3 dogs. I want to start a little dog farm or something, and I can't live in a condo. So you're paying off this house. If you're following something like that and you're investing way ahead of schedule, you don't have to guess. You can go, forget it. I'll pay off whatever house I get close to retirement in. Maybe I want to downsize, or maybe I'm one of those guys that retires and blows all my money on a big old house just to say I did it. Imagine having that flexibility. We may laugh at you, but imagine having that flexibility, right? I'm in Florida. Can't tell you how often. I have a little beach scooter, so sometimes I go down to the beach, just ride up and down the beach, go for a jog or whatever. Can't tell you how many times like a 95-year-old dude passes me in a Ferrari. And you're like, this is not really like, what's going on? Right? He's just doing it because he can. He's having a blast with it. Man got his dough straight. I love it. So anyways, that was what I wanted to cover today. Hopefully you enjoy. What would you consider a safe withdrawal rate? I don't like withdrawal rates because it's always a guess, right? There's no answer. The 4% one, obviously it's a valid argument to make sure you can make your money last long enough, but how much money do you need? What if 4% of your account is only $2,200, right? $22,000 when you get to retirement? Well, that's great. You can follow the 4% rule, but you're still broke. So I'd rather say, okay, put that on the sidelines. How much money do you need first? And then let's work backwards from there. That's what I do for all of our customers. I go, let's just go from the number. I don't want to guess on anything. I don't want to guess on inflation. I don't want to guess on your withdrawal rate. I want to get you the actual number. So that's what we do. How much extra do you save or lose if you don't get married and have the kids in the first place? Ooh, I knew someone was going to say that. Yeah, but what about the divorce? Oh man, you can't, you gotta, what is it? Positive thoughts, man. Positive vibes, man. Just show the world you're trying to be a nice person and it'll give back. Oh man. What if you take out $300,000 cash from $2 million, leaving the rest in equities, bad years, use the $300,000? I mean, now that's just creative. I love that that's the kind of audience we're breeding here. Robert is just being creative. Because it's in a Roth IRA, there's no reason you couldn't do that. You're absolutely right. Yep. Invest young. That is the end all game there. Yeah. I mean, for some of us, we can't turn back time, but for For those of you that are young, you got it, man. Or if you get hit by a car, yeah. Anyways, perfect. Yeah, just keep that in mind. It's a different way to look at it. If you are getting married and someone is pushing you to spend a lot of money, just think about it. It's a different way to do it. The wedding that I told you about earlier, it's just a different way to do it. Not one person had one bad thing to say about that wedding that I went to or the reception. And it was just good vibes all around, man. Everybody really enjoyed themselves. And for me, years later, as I'm telling you the story, to remember so many details of that night, I can only imagine the memories that the bride and the groom have, because I mean, it was just that cool of a night, and it didn't cost them a thing. I don't know where they went on their honeymoon, to be honest. That part, I didn't participate on that part. But yeah, I can't imagine it. Based on that, they probably just hung out in town somewhere, because they were just that cool of people. So first of all, hopefully you find or have found that type of partner, because that was really cool. Anyways, that's all I have for you. We got the closing beat coming up later. Did you see the stock market today? However you view the stock market, you're going to want to take a quick look. And if that intrigues you or interests you and you want to check us out later, I'll be going over everything along with, it's like Geeky Stat Week or something. I've got some really cool stats to go over that you might, I don't know, I just find them interesting. So we're going to cover them. We'll talk to you later. Enjoy. Hit the subscribe button if I've helped you. We'll see you then.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.